Hello guys, let me continue the session on different types of operating system. This session is in continuation with the previous session which we made. Okay guys, let us see the example of floor mission which we were discussing in the previous session. Now the issue is actually here, when the operator is grinding either rice or wheat or corn, if machine is damaged, then what happens? The operator could not able to process the remaining jobs or remaining batches. That is the issue. So one more thing is, when he is executing the job, he cannot interact with the machine. So the batch processing operating systems also work in the similar way. They are non-interactive. Once batch job is submitted to the computer, so the operator could not able to interact with the machine. And moreover, so it is a non-interactive, I can say non-interactive, and one more thing is, there is a chance of getting starved. Many other jobs may get starved, because for example, if you are processing J1 job, okay, this will be completed within 1 week, imagine. But for J2 only 1 day is more enough. Then what happens? J2 will be starved for 1 week. So starvation will be there. And one more thing is, when processing one job or one batch, if computer gets damaged because of the various reasons, then what happens? You could not able to process the other jobs. That's what the batch processing operating systems. Nowadays also people are using. So we are using IBM's OS by 2 is an example for the batch processing operating system. Okay guys. Now let us try to understand the concept of multiprogramming. Okay, fine. Now multiprogramming means, the actual meaning of multiprogramming is running or keeping more number of programs or jobs at a time within the memory. This is the primary memory. Okay, fine guys. So you are able to keep many jobs or many programs at a time within the memory. So what is the added advantage of this multiprogramming is, now CPU will be executing, let us say, job 1. CPU is executing job 1. So for example, some job 1 needs IO operation, input output operation. What happens? So it will be dealing with the input operation. So meanwhile CPU will be idle. CPU will be idle. So what happens is, in this kind of operating system, the operating system can switch over the CPU to process the job 2. So job 1 is taking input here. Meanwhile, instead of keeping CPU idle, the operating system could able to switch over the CPU from job 1 to job 2. If job 2 is also doing some IO operation, then you can switch over the CPU from job 2 to job 3. Again you go back and execute the jobs. So in this type of operating systems, you could able to run more number of jobs within the primary memory by the CPU, almost all at a time. In the sense, of course, when you are switching the CPU from job 1 to job 2, there will be a slight time difference, but it will be in the nanoseconds. As it is in the nanoseconds, as a user of the computer, you won't differentiate the time difference in the nanoseconds, and you feel that all the jobs are getting executed concurrently. Okay. Now what is the advantage compared with the batch processing operating system is, so if any job is failed, now you could able to process the other jobs. That is the added advantage. And one more thing is, user interaction can be allowed, because job 1 needs IO, then user can submit the input output data for the job 1. User interaction is allowed. And one more thing, yeah, you could able to switch over from one job to another job. The disadvantage of still the multiprogramming operating system is, for example, if job 1 needs say 1 hour time and job 2 needs only 1 minute of CPU time to get it executed, then the job 2 will be starved for 1 hour. That is the only disadvantage of multiprogramming operating system. Now this can be covered in multitasking operating system. Let us see multitasking operating system. Now let us try to understand what is multitasking operating system. Now we see what is multitasking, how it is different from multi-programming is. In multi-programming, the disadvantage is only the job starvation. So the first job is taking much time, the other jobs will be waiting for the CPU. In multitasking, it is also called time sharing operating system, in which the CPU will be shared for the equal amount of time for each job. For example, for job 1, CPU will be given for say 3 nanoseconds, and then for job 2, CPU is also given 3 nanoseconds, and for the job 3 also CPU will be given 3 nanoseconds. Now the point is, within the 3 nanoseconds the job 1 may not be completed. For example, say it is not completed within the 3 nanoseconds, but however the CPU will be switched over to job 2 by the operating system. Then what happens, job 1 still it will be waiting in the memory to get it executed, because within the 3 nanoseconds it is not yet finished its complete execution. However, job 2 will be given a chance for getting executed on CPU for 3 more nanoseconds. So maybe possibly job 2 may complete its execution, and also job 3 will be given 3 nanoseconds. So equal amount of time will be given for all the jobs. Within that time, if job is able to complete its execution, that's fine enough. Otherwise, again we will come back and execute the jobs in the same order in which they have arrived in the primary memory. Okay. Then what is multiprocessing? How it is different from the multitasking is simply, so it is almost multitasking operating system, but only the difference is we have job 1, job 2 and job 3. We have CPU 1, CPU 2, so CPU 3. In fact, the multiprocessing operating systems will be getting executed on multi-core processors. Means your computer will have multi-core, more number of processors. CPU 1 will be executing job 1, CPU 2 will be executing job 2, and CPU 3 will be executing job 3. So you are executing concurrently all the jobs at a time. For example, at T0, time T0, you could able to execute all the jobs parallelly. Concurrent execution of jobs at a T0 time happens. But this will not happen in the either in the multi-programming or multitasking. There will be a time difference between the execution of the jobs, but it is in the nanoseconds. Because of that reason, users could not able to differentiate the time difference, and they feel that jobs are getting executed concurrently. But all the jobs are getting executed concurrently at a time only in the multiprocessing operating systems. Fine. Special purpose operating systems, these are also called as application specific operating systems. There are many application specific operating systems like distributed operating system, network operating systems, real time operating system, embedded operating systems, mobile operating systems. We will simply note down the list. Now try to understand, guys. There are many operating systems comes under the category of either application specific or special purpose operating systems. I have listed here some of the special purpose operating systems are distributed OS, network OS, real time OS, embedded OS, desktop OS, OS in servers. In fact, there are many other like parallel computing operating systems, like clustered operating systems. Okay, fine. Now try to understand one after another. Distributed operating system. The name itself says that the operating system is distributed over the different machines connected via network. So you look at the diagram here. This is the network. Simply they are connected through the physical wires, maybe LAN or WAN or MAN. Now A is a computer, B is a computer, C is a computer. In fact, they are independent missions. But if you look at the operating system, the distributed application part of the operating system, distributed OS services, main services, will be running all over the computers. So the two modules of the operating system, that is distributed application and distributed OS services, will be running all over the machines. But in fact, they will have their own kernel. Kernel in the sense, again, each computer will have its CPU and its memory, but only two layers of the operating system will be common for all the machines. So this is called distributed operating system. The examples for the distributed operating system like Indian railway reservation systems, like airline reservation systems, and one more thing, World Wide Web, Internet, almost all banking sectors, all comes under the distributed operating systems they will be using. Now what is the advantage is, if mission A gets failed, say it is failed, if it is failed, what happens? The only thing is that you can use mission B and mission C to serve the customers. For example, if you take any Indian railway reservation system, you are reserving a ticket, say for example in the Secunderabad. So the server in the Secunderabad or the computer is stopped working, then it does not mean that in Bombay someone else could able to book the ticket. So because the missions were installed with the distributed operating systems. Moreover, the data is being available for the mission which is there in the mission A is also available for mission B and also available for the mission C. That's what the concept of distributed operating system. Okay guys, now let us try to understand what is network operating system. Name implies the operating system which is used to manage the network resources actually. So most probably this type of operating system is being used in the client server architecture. We have server computer and connected to the different dummy terminals. So terminal 1, terminal 2, terminal 3 and terminal 4. So the server computer will be having different resources like printer, okay, and scanner. So because the operating system which is there in the server computer will be managing these terminals. Possibly terminals also will have their own resources, not an issue. But however, the terminals and the users who are using the terminals will be managed by the server computer. At the same time, all the resources that are available with the server like printer and scanner, all other resources can be shared between the different users who are connected to the server computers. So in this type of environment, we will be using the network operating system. Most probably it will be in the client server architecture. Now let us try to understand real-time operating system. Before I discuss, because the distributed operating systems, network operating system, real-time operating system, embedded operating systems are not mostly used by the students. Because of that reason, they are not aware of what are these operating systems. In fact, in your regular curriculum, you will not be focusing much more on the this type of operating systems. We will be discussing mostly either desktop operating systems in the curriculum or the operating systems that are being used in the server computers. These type of operating systems only we will be discussing. So real-time operating systems are really they are used in the real time, in the sense like mission critical applications. The examples for the real-time operating systems are like QNX, VxWorks, real-time Linux are the examples. And one more thing, these real-time operating systems are divided into two types. One is soft real-time operating systems and second one is hard real-time. So the real-time operating system is expected to deliver the output of a program or execution of any application at a specific time bounded. These are also called as time bounded operating systems. In the soft real-time operating systems, a minor delay in the time, minor delay in the time in delivering the output is accepted. Minor delay is accepted. For example, sometimes you will be getting OTPs. So you are supposed to enter the OTP within one minute. So if it is delayed, say within the 1 minute, after 10 seconds or 30 seconds or 45 seconds, if you enter the OTP also, it will be accepted. Like not only OTP, what else, like ATM pin. So what happens is there will be a time limit to enter the input data so that the input data can be processed. So the minor time delay while in processing the input or even while in the delivering the output is also accepted in the soft real-time operating systems. They are time bounded, but minor time delay is accepted. Whereas in the hard real-time operating system, the output is expected, or output or input is expected at exact time. So these type of operating systems are normally used for missile launching and satellite launching. satellite launching. What else? Like air traffic control, and one more thing, automobiles. We use this kind of operating systems. So these are the real-time operating systems, soft real-time and hard real-time. Now embedded operating systems are used in embedded systems like microwave ovens, then whatnot, refrigerators, and air conditioners, digital watches, and digital cameras. So we'll be using the embedded operating system. The embedded operating system is designed such that it can perform only specific job in its lifetime. Remember, it will perform only the specific job in its lifetime. So it will be performing the designed job only. Other than that, it will not process any other job. So these are operating systems normally used in refrigerators, air conditioners, digital watches, digital cameras. So in fact they will be running in the limited amount of space or memory. So embedded OS will be getting executed in the limited memory. Remember, desktop OS, we know the personal computers will be using desktop operating systems like Windows or Linux or Mac OS. Okay, fine. Then OS in server computers. So servers will be using different types of operating systems like Windows 2003, Windows 2008, or say Red Hat Linux, Ubuntu. So these type of operating systems are used in server computers. Apart from that, we have also mobile operating systems. Mobile operating systems we are very familiar. Present days we are using Android. Other thing is in Apple phones you will be using iOS, and even in the Nokia mobiles you will be using Nokia Touch. It seems Ubuntu Touch also there. Ubuntu Touch, guys. So mobile operating system will be normally getting executed in the mobiles. So because it is very mobile operating systems nowadays are very familiar, because almost all students, irrespective of the degree they are studying, everybody is using mobiles right now, smartphones. So because of the the change of Android in the entire world is like anything. So these are the different types of operating systems we will find in the literature. Apart from that, there are other operating systems like parallel computing operating system, clustered operating systems also. So but however, if you can represent the different types of operating systems, including the application specific or special purpose operating system, that will be a good idea. Okay guys, now let us try to understand the functions or services of an operating system. In fact, some people often use functions and some people will be using services. So I don't think there is much difference, but the difference could be, if I say functions of an operating system, we will be talking at the broader level of simply what exactly the operating system is doing. So in the broad sense, you will be talking about the what exactly the operating system is offering for the people. If I say services means you will be speaking the services offered by the operating system at a specific level. So in fact, the functions or services are merged together. If it is at the broader level, you can call it as a functions. If it is specific level, you can call it as a services. In fact, now you can I have listed out here some of the functions of the operating system, like say process management, primary memory management, file management, secondary storage management, IO management, protection and security, error control and networking. In fact, these are the functions. So if I go and discuss specific towards each function, then all becomes the services. So process management, you will be studying what operating system will be doing with respect to the process. So it can create a process, it will maintain the process states, process control block and whatnot. So with respect to the process, process scheduling, and inter-process communication IPC, and with respect to IPC again we have process synchronization, and what not, deadlock management. So these become services with respect to the process: creation of process states, process control block, process scheduling, CPU process scheduling also called as CPU scheduling, inter-process communication, process synchronization, and deadlock management also sometimes it is called as resource management. In the deadlocks we will be talking about the various resources, hardware resources and software resources being shared between the multiple processes which are concurrently getting executed. Right? So now it becomes service. Process management now has become a service in terms of all this. In the memory management, you will be talking about the primary memory management. You will be talking about how memory is allocated, memory allocation methods. Then we will go for the memory management like paging, then segmentation, even paging with segmentation or segmented paging. So that's what we will be discussing as part of the primary memory management. So operating system will be managing the primary memory using these concepts: memory allocation methods like contiguous memory allocation, partition, variable fixed sized partition, variable length sized partition methods, and then we will see paging and segmentation. With respect to the file management, we will be talking about file system structure, file system mounting, file access methods, file space allocation, and then what not, how to set the file permissions and everything else, and directory structure, changing the file permissions and all these things you will be studying part of the file system or file management. With respect to the secondary memory management, you will be studying disk space allocation methods, and also disk scheduling algorithms, first come first serve algorithm, shortest seek time, first scheduling algorithm, various disk scheduling algorithms, and also you will be studying about the RAID levels. Then IO management, how IO devices are being communicated, or communication between the IO devices and CPU. So it could be memory mapped IO or direct IO. Again, types of IO will be like, it could be like what is that, programmed IO or interrupt driven IO. Okay, so you will be talking about the programmed IO and interrupt driven IO and IO hardware, and even the kernel IO interface, and also you will see that system call interface with respect to the IO management. Protection and security. Protection we will talk about in terms of operating system is protection. It will deals with the internal threats, whereas security will be dealing with the external threats. Okay, fine guys. So you will study within the protection, how protection is managed by the operating system. The operating system will be protecting the resources being used by the different users of the computer in terms of say access matrix. And security is being provided at physical level, data level, and at the network level. Security is provided by the operating system in terms of authenticating the users by using the username and passwords. So validating the user whether he is an authorized user or not. Error control means whenever you are using operating system or when you are using computer, there might be error happens within the CPU or within the IO devices or within the memory hardware. So anywhere else the error may be arised. So the error management also will be done by the operating system with respect to CPU or IO devices or memory hardware. Networking means the operating system will be supporting different protocols, TCP by IP or UDP protocol, such that the computer can be connected to a network. Guys, in fact, all these functions or services of an operating system, you will be discussing in the regular curriculum or in the academics, as each service has one unit. In fact, so process management is one unit, primary management is other unit, so on. While you are studying the operating system concepts as part of the regular academic curriculum, you will be studying all these functions or services of an operating system as one unit. Okay, these are the various functions and services of an operating system. Okay guys, I hope you might have enjoyed the session. In this session we have seen the objectives of the operating system, also called goal of an operating system, the purpose behind the development of the operating system, and later on we shifted our discussion towards the different types of operating systems. So we have seen various types of operating systems. At last we could able to know the functions or services of an operating system being offered by the operating system for all the users of the computer. Definitely you might have enjoyed the session. So next class we will be discussing the process management. Okay, so I will meet you again with the concept of process management.